You've seen the president's poll numbers drop. Does that bother you?
You know, I look at it a little differently, Rita. During the campaign, Joe made certain promises, things that he would do. And we were going through a pandemic, which no one could have anticipated. So he did come in and rescue America with the American Rescue Plan. And millions of families got money because they were desperate. We have vaccines for kids ages 5 and up. And now with the infrastructure plan, we're going to have better roads and better buildings that don't have asbestos, better drinking water.
So do you figure once the public kind of comprehends this, things will turn around?
I do.
And one more question on that, on the polls, because there have been some recent polls that show that quite a few Americans have some questions about the president's current mental fitness. As somebody who spends, I can see you shaking your head.
Yes.
So what's your response to that?
I think that's ridiculous.
I think that's ridiculous. Okay. Well, what is your response then? I mean, is that your response? That's it? That's it. That's as much as you get pressured on the fact that Joe Biden clearly has early onset or late onset dementia, Alzheimer's. I mean, come on, lady. There are polls that show that Joe Biden, like over half the country doesn't think that Joe Biden's fit to be president. Literally less than a fourth of your party want him to run for president again. You have like 24% of people who are Democrats want Joe Biden to run for president again because they don't think he's mentally fit. Your response, okay, listen, here's how you win an argument. You present evidence and you present facts and you present a compelling case that the argument against you isn't true, isn't real, that the argument against you is false or flawed. And then you convince people to come over to this side and to come over to your side through presenting a more logical and more thoughtful, more fact-based argument. So Jill Biden's argument that Joe Biden doesn't have total and complete mental collapse right now, as we can all clearly see, as everyone can clearly see, it's very painful. We're about to play you a supercut of exactly how painful the Biden presidency has been, how it's been like watching a live cam of the Alzheimer's ward at your local nursing home. So as we watch Joe Biden shuffle around the White House in a filthy bathrobe and mumble as dentures falling out of his mouth, his brain falling out of his face, his pants, his Depends filling up inside of the Vatican, we see that Joe Biden's clearly unfit for office. Polling shows that. And Jill Biden's response to that, her argument against your husband has dementia is, that's ridiculous. And then CBS just cuts away. They just cut away. They're just like, okay, time to go to another segment. What? That's supposed to, you do realize that it actually makes it worse, right? You do realize that that kind of a weak beer argument makes it worse. It makes people think more that something is up with Joe Biden because we clearly have eyes. We have brain stems that function unlike the president. And we can see what is happening to him in moments like this. And I warn the audience, this is extremely painful. Joe Biden, if you're watching right now, you will know that it's no longer ridiculous. Please play the tape.
When you build a charging station, it's like back in the day when my grandpa worked for the American Oil Company back in the turn of in the 1920 in that area. They went from state to state convincing people that they allowed them to put 20,000 gallons of gasoline under the ground. They didn't want them around. No, I'm going to answer one. I'm not going to answer Ethiopia. Let's stick on the debt so we don't confuse the American people. How are we going to get this done and so on? Well, I told you before what my neurosurgeon years ago said when I had that aneurysm. A visiting field. Come walking out of the gym if you want, and you may get jumped by the other team or their supporters. You may be all by yourself, the only one standing there when you watch 6 people jump one of our teammates. They're going to be getting checks in the mail that are consequential. I wrote the bill on the environment. Pay them more. 1.2 billion. So you go ahead and you stack spaghetti sauce at a store and in a supermarket. You control the guy or the woman who brings out the carts on a forklift. What happened? You know, when I talk to all your folks out in the playground, as I joked, everybody knows I like kids better than people. Fortunately, they're like me. That's why maybe I like them. Barack and I think it's a right for people to have bad health care.
Is there going to become a time where you might call him, old friend to old friend, and ask him to open up China to the World Health Organization investigators who are trying to get to the bottom of COVID-19?
Let's get something straight. We know each other well. We're not old friends. It's just pure business. And Ange walks up to me and goes, "Joey, baby!" Grabs my cheek, and I thought the Secret Service was going to blow his head off. We have the tools. Now we just have to finish the job with truth. Pay your fair share. Just pay a decent portion of what we lay out in this piece of legislation. With providing professional education beyond 12 years. They don't know quite what to do. Play the radio, make sure make sure you have the record player on at night, the phone, make sure the kids hear words. I used to love to drive. They don't let me drive anymore. And I have a beautiful Corvette sitting in my garage. I view it as a tax cut for middle-class families. A tax cut. We never have an argument when we talk about with the wealthy. This is a tax cut. It changes the lives. We have fewer democracies in the world today than we did 15 years ago. Fewer. Not more, fewer. And global health threat and a global health threat council. I can't think of anyone better to lead this operation than Deanne Criswell of FEMA. Looks like a tornado. They don't call them that anymore. I was able to go to the private ports with 40% of all products coming into the United States of America on the West Coast go through Los Angeles and what am I doing here?
What you're doing for the country.
Well, thank you.
Mr. President, what did you order?
Chocolate chip.
Oh, yeah. Mr. President, what is your message to Republicans who are prepared to block the January 6th commission?
Eat some chocolate chip. The first part of your question was, I can't remember now.
Should police officers, emergency responders, be mandated to get vaccines? And if not, should they be stay at home or let go?
Yes and yes. Now we're going to get down to business here, and Ron, who am I turning this over to? The two things that concern me, one are those who just try to make this a political issue. Freedom. I'm joined by the executive director of the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach, Gene Soroka, and Mario Cordono. I apologize. And so ultimately, we've got a lot of work to do, and thank you all very much. But some of the stuff, QAnon, the idea that the Democrats or the Biden is hiding people and sucking the blood of children no, I'm serious. Are there people in the Republican Party who think we're sucking the blood out of kids? Know the little expression, time is money. As one computer said, if you're on the train and they say Portal Bridge, you know you better make other plans.
Must it be a reconciliation?
What must be what? I'll lead an effective strategy to mobilize true international effort to pressure. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.